Welcome to the Brain Pick a Pro Show, live from Lake Wiley, South Carolina. I'm Larry Goins. Thanks a lot for watching. Really excited today. Have a good friend on. He is a mover, a shaker, the founder of Six Figure Flipper, Matt Aitchison. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, Larry?
Man, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Hey, no complaints.
Awesome. So why don't you start out and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so, I feel like I have to start out with this. First and foremost, I'm a father to two beautiful little girls and a husband to a beautiful wife. They run the show, and they just let me think that I do. I am really, I would say, a student. First and foremost, always. I'm always looking to, one of my favorite quotes is, I'm a student of life, and I'm always looking for my next teacher. And that's where I begin the majority of my days, is I'm a student. But by day, I'm a real estate investor. I flip houses, buy rental properties, and I've been dabbling into some larger multifamily land development projects that I'm trying to take that next tier and step up. But over the last 5-6 years, after having a little bit of a turbulent start, I was expelled from high school, got arrested in college, and I was kind of at that fork in the road moment in my life of telling myself, the audio that I was feeding myself wasn't necessarily matching up with the video and the actions I was taking. And that was really where I hit that fork in the road moment of, hey, if I'm really gonna live and lead the life that I tell myself and tell other people, which was a lot of BS at the time, I'm going to need to make some changes. So when I was basically 19, 20 years old, I really got on a path of personal development and started editing my peer group and started connecting with mentors and got reintroduced to real estate right after college. And, fast forward 6 years later, I've flipped about 150 houses myself. I've built up a 7-figure rental portfolio, and now I get to speak, teach, and train other aspiring real estate investors how to do the same thing, and really just to use this amazing vehicle of real estate to unlock whatever wealth equation it is that you're looking to, enjoy in life, whether that is passive income, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's really just having more choices to do the things that you ultimately desire to do, whether it's $100 million in the bank or $10,000 a month coming in passive, funding your ideal lifestyle. And that's what I get fired up to do every single day.
That's awesome, man. I love it. That's great. It's a good thing you took a turn for the better way back then, right?
Yeah. I was, I remember when I was in jail, I was kind of looking around going, man, this is my new tribe. This is my new environment. Could potentially, based on what I was facing, be my home for the next few years. And that, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, being so scared of what the reality of what your situation is, whether it's you in jail or your health or relationship, your current financial situation, being so scared of that you're willing to do whatever it takes to run in the opposite direction and create something new for yourself. And that was my rock bottom moment, I call it my oh shiz moment, where I was going, oh shiz, and insert other choice word there of going, this is, if I don't do anything about this, this is my reality. And so I was so committed to doing whatever it took to get out of that, first and foremost, and then obviously creating a plan and, moving forward with that plan to unlocking different levels of, success, wealth, fulfillment, all that kind of stuff. But thank God, that I had some people along the way that believed in me and helped get me through that tough time.
That's awesome. You mentioned that you started getting into personal development. What are some of the things, who are some of the authors, speakers, trainers, coaches, mentors that you learned from and studied?
Yeah, and man, I've had so many different mentors, and I've had physical mentors where I've been in proximity to those individuals in their businesses, in their lives, and vice versa on a daily basis. And I've had the virtual mentors, people on podcasts and books and blogs. And the first physical mentor I really had was the guy that hired me when I had gotten out of jail, gave me an opportunity, and I started, I was pounding the phones for him, cold calling every single day, 5 days a week, going to school full time.
Right.
And he was running a small, business investment firm. And he was the first real individual that exposed me to entrepreneurship and what that was and what that could do for you and your life and your family and for your clients. And so he was my first real mentor. But when it came to books and being exposed to, mindset and, habits and disciplines and a lot of the stuff that we hear and people talk about today, it was actually the Brene Brown book called The Gift of Imperfections. And that one book kind of got me out of my rut. And it's, as a man, it's one of those books that's it's a little, introspective. You're, talking about your feelings and your, which for me, the place that I come from and the people that I'd hung around, you don't talk about your feelings. Right. You don't, so that was kind of a big game changer book for me because it talked about the shame and the guilt and a lot of the stuff that I'd felt around the things I'd done for so many years. And so when I started to really get intimate with who I was as a person, which I feel a lot of people don't really ever, get to know who they are intimately as a person, right. But also to, get comfortable with who I was and know that one, my past didn't have to equal my future. And two, who I am organically, it kind of gave me permission to just like be me and go down this path of not trying to be somebody else or act like somebody else or think and talk like somebody else, but just be the organic Matt. And therefore, all of my relationships, all of my experiences, all of my conversations, all of my opportunities, my life in general was going to be a pure organic reflection of who I was instead of who I was maybe trying to be, which was a lot of that inner struggle I'd dealt with for a while early on in my life. So that one book kind of changed it all. And then obviously, the greats of Tony Robbins and John Assaraf and Bob Proctor. And I mean, you name it, the list goes on. Brendan Burchard. I'm a junkie. I read probably 10, 11 books a month. More so listen to them on audiobook. I am a part of multiple masterminds every year. I have coaches that I consistently engage with on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So I am a big believer in mentorship and coaches and masterminds, being that I think that ultimately it's one of the greatest life and business hacks we have available to us in the 21st century.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I'm a firm believer as well. In high school, I was a C and D student, right? I mean, I was even on the work release program. That's what I called it, where you get out of school early to go to a job, right? But I never went to college, but I am a firm believer in education. And if you see my library, you would know. I mean, I've got like 4 or 5 bookcases at the office. I have 2 bookcases right over here. I have home study courses, been to seminars. I'm in 2 masterminds. One of them's $25,000 a year, and the other one is $10,000 plus $1,000 a month. So I am a firm believer in education and information. And a lot of people think that, when you get to our level, that, you don't need education anymore. You don't need information. You don't need masterminds. No, it's just the opposite, because then we want to take it to a whole nother level. And it's not even as much about how to flip a house or how to do a deal or build a team anymore. It's about being, like you said at the beginning of the show, being a better husband, being a better father, being a better steward, being a better, a person who gives and helps other people and can actually change the world. Wouldn't you agree?
Couldn't agree more. I think there's a lot of people who believe money is, what makes you happier. And they go, well, it gives you more choices and therefore your choices lead to more freedom. But I know a lot of people who have a lot of money and have all the quote unquote freedom in the world, but they're bankrupt in their health. They're bankrupt in their relationships with their kids, with their employees, with themselves, right? They're bankrupt in giving back to their communities. So yes, money is one piece of the wealth equation, but it definitely isn't the whole equation. And I think everybody obviously has a different definition of wealth. right? But getting clear on that is extremely important. And, don't want to, money just makes you more of who you already are, right? And it does give you more freedom and more option, but it doesn't define what you are. And I know a lot of people that have really no money, but they are freaking happy. They add value to people on a daily basis. And, that money and that currency in general is only one way of adding value to the world and creating the life that you want to live. But I can tell you that by having more of it, it definitely gives you more opportunity, more options to expand and enhance some of those things we just talked about.
That's awesome, man. I love it. Sounds like one of the people you've been listening to is Jim Rohn too.
Oh man, I had it's funny, in the back of my trunk, I have probably 60 or 70 CD cases because my car has a CD player still with all the, the new cars with MP3s and all that kind of stuff. And I just finished up Jim Rohn's Win the Day, and now I'm on to the Millionaire Mind, and I'm constantly like I said, constantly trying to feed my mind with some kind of information that expands it. Jeff Hoffman, the billionaire founder of Priceline, who's been a great mentor of mine over the last few years, he calls it info sponging, and every single day he is constantly sponging in new information, whether it's, from a personal development person, somebody. He gives himself space and opportunity to take in new content at least for an hour every single day.
That's awesome. Jim Rohn used to say, and he passed away in 2009, but he used to say, work hard on your job and you can make a living. Work hard on yourself and you can make a fortune.
Yep. Yeah, and as crazy as it sounds, right? And everybody goes, that's foo-foo, woo-woo, whatever you want to call it. Cheesy, stuff works, man. It's we don't know how powerful our mind is. I mean, we can study it, but at the end of the day, we can't compute how insanely powerful the mind and the brain is. And yet, the people that are highly successful have adopted a lot of these disciplines and habits and beliefs and really practiced a lot of this foo-foo, woo-woo, cheesy stuff that a lot of people talk about, which I was one of those people that was like, I don't like that. That's weird. Right. I'm not really into that. That's not me. When I checked my ego at the door and kind of surrendered to what the potential possibilities are from doing those things, right, and got a little tiny taste of it, then it was like, okay, maybe I should give this a little bit more of a try. And then you do it more and you do it more. And then obviously more and more opportunity, more doors open. You walk through them and you start to see what is capable, what you are capable of, what is possible for you, just by being open to what those things are.
And I don't mean this in a bad way, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but if you don't believe it works, that's why people are watching us right now instead of us watching other people right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, one of my mentors always said the most expensive thing in your life or for anybody is a closed mind. And, if you think about what potentially could prevent somebody from unlocking wealth and riches versus the people who do that is the mind. And if it's not open, if it's not willing to receive, willing to grow, willing to learn about different things that you may not be accustomed to thinking or believing in, but you're open to it, you could prevent yourself from living a long life, happy life, rich and fulfilled life, and making yourself a lot of money and making an impact on a lot of people in the process.
And that's so true. That's so true. One of the masterminds we're in, they always say, check your ego at the door. You're here to learn, you're here to grow, you're here to give back. And that's so very important. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned another Jim Rohn line a few minutes ago. Money only makes you more of what you already are. If you're a nice guy and you have a lot of money, you're going to be everybody's best friend, right? And if you're a tyrant, and you have a lot of money, you're going to be a terror to people, right? Money only makes you more of what you already are. I remember Jim Rohn is the first person I ever heard say that.
Yep. You said it, man. It's one of those things that I will not only employ for the rest of my life, but also aspire to, continue to grow. Therefore, having the growth personally, the external, world will expand as well, which often will include opportunities for generating income, which can be used in many different capacities.
That's exactly right. And hopefully you'll pass it on to your children as well and get them involved.
Well, I think that's the duty of most of us. And I love that, we're on a real estate podcast, so we're talking about the mindset and growth, because ultimately that is the foundation for any success is, the belief paired with the action and the consistent, never-ending growth that goes along with this entire journey. But I do believe that, it's one thing to go out there and, your duty to create success, create freedom for you and your family. It's also our duty as individuals to, pass this along, right? To have that ripple effect in the world and to share this, with other people, because that's one, legacy, and two, that's how we make a greater impact on more people and go beyond just the selfish desires that we as human beings naturally have. And so if you think about, Aaron Rodgers, right, one of the best quarterbacks, or Tom Brady, one of the best quarterbacks, they can be the superstar. You can be that superstar and learn every play, every route, every strategy in the game. But if you want to go out there and, pass it along and to give that wisdom and all that experience and all of those things that you've learned and earned and gained in your career to other people that are coming behind you,
right,
then you need to turn into the Vince Lombardi, right? You need to learn how to pass those strategies along, that wisdom, that experience to other people. And so it's one thing to be the superstar, which is great. I think the secondary piece of that, which really ties into a legacy conversation, is becoming a fantastic coach and giving other people behind you an opportunity to learn from all of those things that you learned.
Right. And there's so many different types of personal development. I mean, listen, like you said a minute ago, people are watching a real estate podcast, but I know one of the biggest obstacles that people have is getting themselves out of the way, right? They have limiting beliefs. They have negative thoughts. Relatives, friends, neighbors, co-workers have told them forever, what, you're going to another get-rich-quick seminar? Or, why are you reading that book? You're going to be working here in the factory for the rest of your life. Why are you even doing that? They let people drag them down, right? And I know, I've been coaching and mentoring people for over 15 years now. I did my first real estate deal over 30 years ago in 1986, right? That was my very first real estate deal. That was an investment property, right? And I know from hearing students, now we have a lot of successful students already, but I've had a lot of students tell me, I just can't get my mind right. I can't stay on track. I can't stay focused. I don't believe I can do it. So even in my coaching and mentoring program, I hired a guy to do nothing but coach and mentor people on the mindset, on keeping your mind right, on keeping a positive mental attitude, PMA, on setting the goals and the plans and sticking to them and getting rid of the negative naysayers and doing what they know deep down in their heart that they really can do. And I think that's it's a very, very important part of any successful person. I don't care who you are or what you've done or where you're going. You've got to have that mindset to continue to move forward. And you mentioned a few minutes ago, you listen to about 10 or 11 books a month. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. And I do the same thing. I don't do that many. I usually try to do one a week. That's my goal. I don't always hit it, but I try to do one a week. And I did a Facebook post it's been about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, where, I love business. I love working. You love business. You love working. We're always out there making it happen. And, but I realized that there's a lot more to it than just work, right? There's a lot more to it than just building a business. And you got to take time for yourself. It had been about 8 months since I had been running, right? And after I shot that video was right after I just started running again, after I came to that realization from one of my masterminds. It's not even a real estate mastermind. It's a leadership mastermind about creating your own personal vision. So I started running. started riding my Harley again and going on trips and doing things with the family and kids and stuff. And you really, really got to do that. That's so important. So tell us some other things that you do to stay motivated and keep your team we should probably let you tell us about your real estate business, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can talk about honestly whatever you want. I think it's one of those things where the best conversations often uncover themselves, just through the natural curiosity that we have for each other, right? And we're like, we had a great conversation on my podcast, and we had a specific agenda that we wanted to talk about, and we ended up going and uncovering some gems just through, some high quality questions that ultimately led to some amazing answers. And in regards to, my business, I've done a high volume business. I've done a high price point, lower volume business, which is where I'm at right now. So I'm in, Sacramento. I say I invest in Sacramento, California to Silicon Valley, which is, one of the craziest markets in the country, where, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000-square-foot house goes for practically, anywhere from $1 million to 1.5, even 2 million in certain areas. So you can imagine, how insane our market is to be at that price point, right?
Right. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Seriously. And so what that forces you to do is to be really good at lead generating, as well as obviously being able to, have some of the funding and backing to buy. I was, 3, 4, 5 houses in Sacramento is one in the Bay Area, and they're usually often north of 6-figure profits on each and every one.
Right.
Because of, it's the same model, but it doesn't require the same intensity of a team, the same, necessary velocity of, the same amount of deals and the same amount of leads. And so the way I run a very lean model, I had a very large real estate team. We were ranked in the Wall Street Journal top 1,000 real estate teams in the country. And we were doing about 40 million in volume, couple hundred transactions a year. And I was also flipping houses at the same time, was buying rental properties at the same time. I'm also a partner in a construction company. So I kind of was really heavy early in my 20s of building this ecosystem that cross-pollinated a lot of business. So anybody that was in our real estate company that wanted to remodel their house and had clients that wanted to remodel, we'd send them over to the construction company, then relist it back through the real estate team. Or when I was flipping houses, I'd send it over to my construction company, then we'd relist it through my real estate team, then I'd capture the profit in the flip company. And I was kind of figuring out all of these different buckets in this ecosystem that I could capture income from. Right. And what I realized was, I'm still partnered in the construction company. I still refer a lot of my business to my ex-real estate partner, who's a great friend of mine, and generate a passive income stream through referrals that way. But I really doubled down in the areas that generated me the most money in the least amount of time, which was my rentals and my flipping. And so that's where I spend a lot of my time right now. And, it's nice having the construction company because I don't really think too much about the construction side of the business. Right. When we're flipping houses. My main focus, my skill set, the lane that I stay in is generating leads and negotiating those leads, which really takes a very minimal amount of time with the systems and infrastructure that I have in place. And now I get to do what I ultimately love to do, which is teach and train and speak to other people on leveraging real estate investing to, create wealth and free up more time so we can, spend the time that we want with who we want, when we want, in a capacity that most people desire when they get into real estate investing and ultimately never get to unlock because they're just missing a few tweaks, whether it's mindset, systems, strategies. And that is, what gets me fired up on a daily basis.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome. I've always said money is just a tool. It's just a tool that gives you the freedom to spend your time any way you want to. That's all money is, right? Yep. And like we said before, it only makes you more of what you already are. So your main real estate business now is the high end deals, and I'm assuming you're doing fix and flips on those, right?
Yep. So, one out in San Jose recently, $187,000 check on the same type of flip system that I would do on a $90,000 or $150,000 house out here in Sacramento.
Right.
It's just a different price point. Obviously, you're dealing with a different clientele, so design comes in a little bit. The design aspects need a little bit more attention.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I negotiated the lead the same way I negotiated, and found a lead in Sacramento versus the Bay Area, right? So it's just different price point, but same system, just a few little different tweaks and caveats along the way. And instead of having to do, 40 or 50 flips a year, I can do 10 out in the Bay Area that necessarily don't require as much time, energy, and or risk.
Right.
When I am, and risk when I say potential liabilities of things going wrong on site or, with different clients, things like that. But at the end of the day, I'm risking a lot more money in individual deals on, these higher end properties. But being that is the average price point out in the Bay Area, and the velocity of deal flow and the deals that are going up for sale and going into contract, and the amount of cash that's flying around, it's unreal. I mean, it's unprecedented. So we're somewhat insulated in, a very unique market out here in the Bay Area. But at the end of the day, I'm constantly trying to stay ahead of the curve and just make sure that I rely on, the criteria and the experience that I've generated over the last 150 flips to make sure that I protect my investors' money, protect my money, being that I don't put any of my own money into deals. I use other people's money, and I use those profits to, fund my business, my lifestyle, and buy rental properties.
That's awesome, man. So you're using private money to fund these deals?
Yeah, kind of a cool story. I found one of my main private lenders through direct mail. And this was when I was first starting about 6 years ago. And I was doing a lot of direct mailing campaigns. And I ended up going over to this guy's house, and he was probably in his 60s. You could tell he was a seasoned investor, had been around a while. And I walk up, as a newbie with my clipboard and, my suit and tie on, and, looking all dorky, trying to be impressive, and, not knowing what I didn't know. I think I maybe had flipped 6 or 7 houses at the time.
Right.
And I go through the walkthrough with him and my spiel and all that kind of stuff. And he goes, "You know what? I like the way you present yourself." He goes, "But I'm not going to sell you my house. But what I will let you do is I'll let you list my house, and I'll take the proceeds from this house and I'll reinvest them with you on your next project." And so long story short, about 3-4 years later, I'd sold 25 of their rentals, which freed up about $3.5 million of cash for them.
Right.
And they are one of my main private and lenders that have funded the majority of my 150 flips over the last 5-6 years.
That's awesome, man. They got to love you.
I have made them a lot of money. It's funny. I go over to their house a lot for breakfast and just talk and, mastermind and network and just stay connected with them. And every time I pull up to the house, it seems like they got something new and awesome. And, "Hey, Matt, thanks for buying us this car this year. Hey, Matt, thanks for sending us on this great vacation." So it's been a complete win-win, right? They get to lend out their money. They get to generate a great return. I get to fund my deals essentially with none of my own money. They're my first lender, and then I usually will, they fund 90% of my purchase price, 100% of my construction costs, and then I will leverage that last 10% in the holding costs for the interest-only payment through a secondary lender and put them in second position, therefore funding my deals with other people's money.
Right. That's awesome, man. That's a really good story. I love that.
You just never know where those opportunities are going to come from, right?
That's so true, man. You never know. You always have to be looking and thinking about how you can help somebody and how they can help you at the same time, right?
So true. Yep. It's got to be a win-win.
So, I mean, you're in a very, very hot market out there. How are you getting your deals? Are you doing a lot of direct mail or pay-per-click or Facebook marketing?
Direct mail, and honestly, relationships have been one of the largest ones for me. Doing pay-per-click for quite some time. It's gotten really competitive. Don't do a ton of Facebook marketing. But really those two main ones have been direct mail and relationships. So I just consistently built up a reputation and relationships with people in the community who are either agents, contractors, wholesalers, bird doggers, attorneys, you name it. I've looked at that landscape as kind of my orchard, my farm.
Right.
And for anybody that's looking to, leverage this strategy, many people burn out because they're very short-sighted. And I say this is the difference between the microwave mindset and the crock pot mentality. And if you were to ask yourself, if someone was going to make a dish out of the crock pot or the microwave, which one would you prefer to eat? And the answer is always, well, of course, the crock pot makes it way better. But guess what? It takes a whole lot more time.
Right.
And it takes a lot more ingredients to fuse together to create that masterful dish that makes it to where you're like, that's a no-brainer. I don't want the frozen dinner. I want the crock pot meal, right? And that's the same mentality that you have to go into, one, real estate investing in general with. It's a long-term game made up of many short strategic sprints along the way, but also, with the relationship building side of things. And I've been, when I first started, I was looking at raw dirt, but then I had to, over time, right, become the farmer and go, okay, I need to rototill this dirt. Then I need to plant the seeds. Then I need to nurture the seeds. Then I need to keep water in the seeds. And then I need to go back and, figure out additionally what other things I can do until they start bearing fruit and you reap the reward of your crop. And then I replant and do it over and over again. And so that's one thing that I've consistently made a priority and focus in my business, is to always be developing relationships with people and trying to add value to them, trying to connect this person with that person. And also just by having a presence on social media and some of the other things, when people come across a deal, right? And I teach and train people, what does the deal look like if it comes across your plate, and why the heck should you think about bringing it to me? I highly incentivize people to bring me deals. I've over time built my army of people who bring me opportunities and deals, which, one, it's free lead generation, right? It's not free necessarily from time, but it doesn't cost me any marketing dollars.
Right.
And two, it's a way that I'm able to find those deals, but pay those people for the opportunities that they put on my plate. And that's something that, I will continue to leverage over time. But those two, direct mail and relationships, have been the two greatest opportunity generators when it comes to investments.
That's awesome, man. I love that. You mentioned early on that you have a lean model, a lean team. And I love that. There's something to be said for keep it small, keep it all. Tell us about what does your team look like and how do you run that?
Mm-hmm. So right now it's me. I have really 2 employees, and then the construction team, like I said, does a good amount of the heavy lifting when it comes to like when you're talking about what team do you need. I mean, my aunt is an escrow officer. She's been in title and escrow for 25 years, so she handles obviously that side of the business for me. I have a phenomenal stager that I've been working with for 5 years that does a lot of my design and has helped on that side of things. I've got a fantastic real estate agent who is my previous business partner. And then the construction company handles everything on the construction side, from project management, obviously, to all the labor that we use on the projects. So when we're talking about in-house, it's really me and 2 other people in the office. That's it. And I mean, wow. Literally, if I wanted to, minus having maybe a accountant or a tax strategist or someone who can really handle the finances, because that's something that's extremely critical to staying on top of and in front of. You, the individual, could generate the leads, take the calls, go on the appointments, and run a multiple 6-figure real estate investing business every year. And
that's what you do. What does a day in the life look like for you?
That's exactly what I do. I would say now on my real estate investing business, maybe 5 to 10 hours a week. Probably 10 hours a week on a busy week with real estate investing, and the rest of it I spread out into the other areas that I'm focusing on building out multiple income streams in. One with the podcast, too with the e-learning, the courses, the masterminds, the coaching that I do for other individuals and offer for other people that want to learn how to, invest in real estate and all the different facets. But other than that, I mean, my real estate business doesn't take up a ton of time. Now, I will say that it is kind of like the snowball effect. It takes a while to roll that snowball up the hill. Right. And once you build out the infrastructure and the systems and the teams, then it's just tweaking and optimizing right. those systems, those processes, putting those people in place and holding them accountable to the standards you've created.
Right.
But once you get to that place, which most people give up before they get there, it becomes a whole lot more fun because you get to make a good living as well as free up a lot of your time to spend it in the areas that you're really passionate about.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I love it. This has been really, really good. We got to talk about personal development, mindset, and even some real estate.
Yep. It's been awesome, man.
So if somebody wants to reach out to you, how would they contact you?
They can reach out to me on any of the social media platforms. All my handles are the same. It's official Matty A, Mattya. And they can either email me at Matty A, Mattya at sixfigureflipper.com. That's the number sixfigureflipper.com. Those would be the main platforms that, usually I'm heavily engaged on my social media platforms and always, going back and forth with people who I've either connected with from my own podcast, being on other podcasts, or just on the social media platforms that are out there.
Right. That's awesome, man. Hey, I really, really appreciate you taking the time today. It's been really, really good. It reminded me of a few things that I need to do with my own personal development. And I thought I was doing good at a book a week, man. I got to step up my game.
There you go, man. It's funny. Anytime you get around other people that are, operating at a high level, I know from our conversation last time, I was like, oh man, I got to try this and do this. And that's the beauty of anybody who's listening to this show of, you don't need to try and do it all, but pick one thing that you can do better at and implement a plan and a strategy and just take massive action on it. And you'll be surprised, looking back in 3 weeks, a quarter, a year, man, how much ground you've covered by just consistently surrounding yourself with people, conversations and experiences that force you to think bigger and raise your game.
That's so true. That's so true and well said. Man, I really, really appreciate you being on today. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Take care.